Hello again, guys. We've got another quick one. Again, we're going to look at dividing decimals, which again is a review of last year. We're also going to also throw in the negative and the positive decimals here as well. So we're going to be combining a couple things. Again, if you've forgotten your rules for dividing integers, go back. You can rewatch those videos, and that will help you out here. So the things to remember when we're dividing decimals. If there's only a decimal in your dividend, then you just keep that wherever it is, put it in the same spot in your quotient when you divide. If there's a decimal, though, in your divisor, we need to move it over to make a whole number. However many spots I move it in my divisor, I also need to move it the same number of spots in my dividend before I can do my division. Then wherever it winds up, keep it there in your quotient. So those are rules that we should remember from last year. I just threw up a couple of little example problems there as well. I didn't show you all the work, but I just wanted to show you the decimal placement. All right, so we're just going to look at a few examples of this using our rules that we know. So the first thing I'm going to do while I'm dividing, I'm going to do the division first, then we'll go back and we'll look at our signs and figure out what the sign of our answer should be. So I'm going to set up my division problem. I notice I have a decimal in my divisor, so that means I need to move it over. I moved it over one spot to make a whole number, which means I need to move it over one spot in my dividend. So that's where it's going to go in my quotient. 6 goes into 7 once, goes into 14 twice, goes into 27 4 times, and it goes into 35 times. And you'll notice I just added a 0, I added a placeholder there so that I could continue out to get the full answer. We don't want any remainders when we're dealing with decimals. We know how to divide out in decimals, so we're going to do it that way. I have one negative sign, which is an odd number, so that means that my answer is also going to be negative. Remember, if there's an odd number of negatives, your answer is negative. If there's an even number, it's positive. So we're going to go ahead here. Again, first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to look at my numbers. I'm going to do my division first. I have a decimal in my divisor, or sorry, my divisor. So I'm going to move it over one. It means I have to move it over once in my dividend, and it's going to go in the same place in my quotient. So you'll notice it doesn't go into these numbers. It doesn't go into 19. 77 won't go to 19, so we need to add the 0 there, or our place values are going to be in the wrong spot. It goes into 192 twice. It's 154. We go into 385 5 times, I think. Yep. So I get 0.025, and then if we look up here, I have one negative sign. My answer is then going to be negative. So here, I notice I have two negatives, so my answer is going to wind up being positive. So let's do the problem. And our answer will be positive, so we don't need to worry about adding any signs to it. Now you'll notice I added a 0 here because I'm already looking at this and I'm noticing that I'm going to have to move my decimal 2 places in my divisor to make a whole number, which means I'm going to have to move it 2 places here, and that is why I added that 0 there. I'm not going to write it up in my answer because this could be a whole number. If I need to add more zeros and go on, then I can add it up in there. But let's just do our division. The important thing to remember here is I bring down the 0. Still need to add my 0 here. It's not going to go into there 17 times. It's 170. So make sure that you're keeping all of your zeros and your placeholders in the proper places so you don't wind up with crazy answers. And again, I already said I have 2 negatives, so that means my answer is then actually positive. Over here, we'll do our division. And actually, what I notice about this one is that after I move my decimal, I'm going to wind up with pretty simple division. I have a decimal in my divisor, so I need to move it over. I moved it over twice, which means I need to move it over twice in my dividend. When I move it over, what you'll notice is I have 64 divided by 8. That one we should all be able to do in our heads. 8 times 8 is 68. I have one negative, so that means that my answer is also going to be negative. This is my video retraction. I said 8 times 8 is 68. Don't listen to the words that come out of my mouth. Look at my numbers. 8 times 8 is 64. But you all know that, and you're probably yelling at your screen. Good job. Again, if you're confused, if you're having problems, go back. You can rewatch the earlier videos to help review your rules for multiplying and dividing positive and negative numbers. And you can always rewatch the video. You can ask questions in the comments, email in class, and whatnot. So you guys have a great night. I'll see you tomorrow.